In our hyper-connected world, solitude has become a lost art, yet history shows us that time alone can renew the spirit and reveal our inner wisdom. Sarah slumps over her textbook, exhaustion washing over her. She's only halfway through her reading for class tomorrow, but can't absorb another word. It's 11 p.m. on a Friday, and her roommate is out partying somewhere. The dorm room feels eerily quiet compared to the constant campus hustle and bustle. Sarah glances at her phone. No new notifications. She opens Instagram and scrolls absent-minded. All these happy, smiling faces made her feel even more alone. She just feels so tired of trying to keep up. Tired of this constant pressure to be social, go out, be involved with everything on campus. But even when surrounded by people, she feels lonely. Sarah wishes she could pause it all, hit the stop button on all the noise and activity. She requires time for reflection and rejuvenation. Half-heartedly clicking links, Sarah lands on a blog post titled, "The Lost Art of Solitude." Alone time has never been her preference. Just like the Buddha sought enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, Sarah hopes solitude can be a pathway to wisdom and meaning for her chaotic mind. Curious, Sarah explores the idea that time alone in nature could provide clarity. We can see a lack of social interaction in the state of solitude. Depending on the situation, solitude can have an either positive or negative effects. Many people value uninterrupted concentration, thinking, or relaxation. It can be a matter of personal preference. On the other hand, long-term isolation is not desirable and can result from strained relationships, losing a loved one, a conscious choice, an infectious disease, mental or neurological issues, or even one's job or living situation. Historically, solitude has been synonymous with loneliness. In modern times, it has taken on two distinct meanings, which we will explore in the brief history of solitude soon. Choosing solitude allows one to be free from the needs and demands of others. Solitude is a healthy practice, and it doesn't mean someone is antisocial, depressed, or mentally ill. Regular periods of solitude have many positive effects on one's life. The prevalence of social media has made it challenging to relax in private, because even when we are alone, we often want to know what's happening in the world at large. As Stephen Batchelor wrote, "The world is here to surprise us. My most lasting insights have occurred off the cushion, not on it." Time spent in solitude, away from constant distractions and demands, can provide space for meaningful insights to arise. Feeling lonely is an unpleasant emotion that arises when someone is alone. Loneliness is also known as social pain. It's a psychological mechanism that encourages people to seek relationships. It's often linked to a distressing lack of love and closeness. While being alone and feeling lonely share some similarities, they are also different. Solitude refers to being separate from others, but not everyone who spends time alone experiences loneliness. Loneliness is a personal feeling that can occur even when one is surrounded by others. Loneliness is often associated with negative connotations, referred to as the condition of being solitary. It means the feeling of being downcast because of a lack of companionship or sympathy. It's common knowledge that feeling lonely is not suitable for anyone for long periods, as it erodes the individual's well-being. As humans, having strong social connections is vital for our emotional and physical health. We form our sense of self through our interactions with others, and these interactions are essential for our growth as learners, our ability to solve problems, and our resilience in life. Sarah explores the history of solitude, from early Christian hermits to the Romantic poets. She discovers that throughout history, many famous thinkers and creators achieved their best work when they were alone. As Sarah reads about philosophers, writers, and artists from the past who created their masterpiece in solitude, she has a moment of insight. She can relate to the desire for clarity away from the noise of everyday life. Sarah never realized that solitude could be a path to self-discovery. Rather than just a feeling of loneliness, she thinks about how she always feels distracted and scattered when she's on campus. Surrounded by people and noise, she can't seem to hear her own thoughts. The idea that being alone can help great thinkers focus captivates Sarah. She wonders if solitude might also help her unlock full potential and creativity. A new sense of hope emerges, suggesting that alone time could be beneficial rather than detrimental to her. During the early modern era, isolation held a unique place in people's thoughts, a blend of deep respect and trepidation. Those who opted for a life of solitude were following in the great footsteps of figures like Saint Anthony the Great, who lived in the desert, as well as the Buddha, who achieved enlightenment through solitary meditation under a Bodhi tree. The idea of isolation had roots in Christian traditions like the Desert Fathers, as well as Buddhist practices. Retreating into nature for spiritual enlightenment was valued, influencing religious institutions in their respective cultures. As Europe entered the Renaissance and the Enlightenment periods, attitudes toward solitude shifted. Isolation, once seen as solely religious, was now valued as intellectual and creative enrichment. When poet John Donne fell ill and was abandoned, he lamented his isolation. Yet he mentioned the need for community, stating, "No man is an island, entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main." His painful experience reinforced his view that human connection enables creative thought. The Enlightenment similarly stressed friendship's importance while seeing solitude as equipping oneself for society. In recent decades, prolonged isolation has been linked to depression. This outgoing attitude was met with resistance during the late 18th century. The hermit tradition within Christianity gained more recognition, even in Protestant cultures. The Romantic era valued alone time spent in nature for its therapeutic effects. Thomas de Quincey, a writer, determined that William Wordsworth walked 180,000 miles around England and Europe throughout his lifetime. With the stresses posed by urbanization, the appeal to periodically withdraw and isolate oneself from society grew stronger and stronger. If someone is open to it, solitude can heal a moral compass that has been damaged by unchecked capitalism and give someone spiritual life again. The Industrial Revolution brought greater private home ownership and appliances that reduced family interaction. The automobile offered further independence. Common social isolation emerged post-World War II. Single-person homes became normalized, no longer seen as unhealthy. In modern times, the distinction between being alone and feeling lonely grows. Simply being alone is no longer seen as inherently problematic. Rather, the issue is feeling an uncomfortable lack of companionship and an inability to connect even when surrounded by others. This feeling of loneliness garners more attention as a disorder that requires addressing. In contrast, solitude is increasingly viewed as a personal choice that can have benefits. Time spent purposefully alone to reflect, create, or reconnect with nature is valued rather than stigmatized. The key differentiation is that solitude is alone time by choice for renewal, whereas loneliness is an unhealthy state of isolation and lack of fulfillment from relationships. Unplugging from constant distraction provides space for creativity to flourish. Free from outside influences, new insights and ideas can emerge. Sarah decides to dedicate Sunday mornings to photography alone. She looks forward to having unfiltered time to play with compositions without distractions from friends. Solitude also allows the mind to recharge and distress. The break from stimuli lets our brains restore depleted energy. A solo walk calms Sarah's anxiety and leaves her feeling refreshed. Alone time fosters self-awareness. Away from others' perspectives, we can focus inward, meditate on what matters, and find alignment. Sarah's tranquil moments in nature help her appreciate the present and put life in perspective. Sarah wonders how solitude could contribute to her creativity, mental health, and spiritual growth, whereas distractions are stopping people from being creative. When we are deeply involved in a creative work, we make our best works of art. We become more real when we put our whole selves into our work. Shutting off distractions allows us to focus on our thoughts. By doing so, we may evaluate incoming ideas, choose which ones to keep and which to let go of, and then put those choices into action through our chosen medium. In isolation, we transmit our truth when we acknowledge our emotions, whether painful or full of joy. How we express our inner lives through art reveals something about our identities and relationships with the world. Alone time might bring up terrible thoughts. Accepting the truth about ourselves might be challenging. But in doing so, we free up mental space for original thought. With room to think, it's possible to bring original concepts into the world. When we accept the notion of isolation, we make a place for innovative thinking that encourages creativity. By accepting solitude, we open up the opportunity for creativity and innovation to blossom. Away from the influence of others' perspectives, we can tune into our inner truth and imagination. Solitude provides the headspace to develop original concepts and thought patterns. The research on how solitude can spark innovation resonates with Sarah. She has always enjoyed photography, but struggles to make time for it among her hectic schedule. She realizes that dedicating solo time to her creative hobbies could help her distress while also flexing her creative muscles. Sarah decides she would set aside a few hours each Sunday morning to go out and shoot photos alone. She looks forward to having the headspace to play with composition and lighting without friends and classmates badgering her with questions. She feels solitude will allow her an unfiltered channel to see the world through her artist's eyes. Whether an introvert needs time to recharge after being around people, or an extrovert who doesn't believe spending time alone can help benefit their mental and physical health, here are reasons to value solitude. It can help reduce stress levels. When alone, there's no one else's energy to influence them. This can help them relax and feel less stress. It can improve our self-awareness. Spending time alone allows individuals to reflect on their thoughts and feelings without outside influences. It helps individuals to know themselves and their life goals. Spirituality. For those who believe in a higher power, time alone can be a powerful spiritual practice. Solitude allows us to retreat within and connect with our true selves beyond the material world. When completely alone, we may transcend everyday brutalities and realize our unity with divine nature, no longer isolated individuals. As the writer Thomas Mann expressed, solitude gives birth to the original in us, to beauty unfamiliar and perilous, to poetry. But also it gives birth to the opposite, to the perverse, the illicit, the absurd. Solitude can lead us to profound truths or unwanted darkness within. We must approach alone time with an openness but also wisdom. Sarah takes solo walks in the woods behind campus each morning before class. At first she feels uneasy with so much unstructured alone time, but she finds the walks calming. Away from the chatter of classmates, she can hear her own thoughts. The fresh air and natural scenery makes her feel more grounded. She notices her anxiety and stress levels decreasing. Without distractions, our minds can wander to more profound realms of awareness. We may reconnect with our essential humanity and the natural environment, which can serve as both muse and companion. Putting away reliant feelings and limiting concessions frees us up for problem solving, creativity, and spirituality. If we accept solitude's gifts, this chance to hone our perspectives will give us the strength to handle more alone time. Over time, solitude protects against loneliness by providing depth and significance. As psychiatrist Anthony Storr expressed, the happiest lives balance interpersonal relationships and impersonal interests. Finding equilibrium is key. Storr makes a compelling case that some fear solitude due to evolutionary wiring and avoidance of self-reflection. However, taking gradual steps to get comfortable alone can help overcome this anxiety. In our hyper-connected world, embracing solitude's gifts of calm and clarity is refreshing. Looking inward for purpose and meaning, feeling a connection with nature are sources of renewal. A modern popular acronym called FOMO, which is linked to the idea of fear of missing out. Many feel anxiety about being alone, but solitude can be a chance to recharge, find peace, and connect with our thoughts. Focusing on our true values enriches these solitary experiences. Being alone allows us to turn our focus inward through introspection. Without the influence of others, we can meditate on what matters to us at the core. Solitude provides the space to align our outer lives with our inner truth and purpose. Spending solitary time outdoors can foster a sense of spiritual connection with the natural world around us. Away from human-made distractions, nature can be a source of renewal, awe, and grounding. Like the Buddha seeking truth alone under the Bodhi tree, Sarah discovers her solo introspection under the wise branches of the oak and also unlocks her inner wisdom. She learns time alone in nature can reveal one's authentic self. While on her solo walks, Sarah often sits quietly, observing nature around her. As she watches the breeze rustle the colorful autumn leaves, she feels a sense of serenity wash over her. Without the constant buzz of people and technology, her mind feels calm and her breathing slows. She can be fully present in each moment, noticing the beauty of squirrels scurrying up trees or sunlight peeking through branches. Sarah realizes these tranquil moments connected with nature rejuvenate her spirit profoundly. The simplicity helps her put life into perspective and reminds her to appreciate the small joys. By unplugging from the pressure to always be social, Sarah gains a new appreciation for simple joys. A budding flower, sunlight through trees, she realizes her inner strength and creativity blossom in solitude. Sarah discovered solitude's power for renewal, unlike the loneliness she felt when constantly surrounded by others. The key lessons from Sarah's journey are that solitude provides space for creativity, stress relief, and self-reflection. By unplugging from distractions, Sarah found presence and meaning. As Aristotle stated, the one who loves solitude is either a wild beast or a god. She learned balance is vital, appreciating relationships while nurturing inner wisdom through alone time. Sarah shows us solitude can reduce anxiety, reveal our authentic selves, and foster passion. Her story reminds us that occasional solitude is key for modern well-being. Take time out to rediscover creativity and clarity. Cherish the joy of missing out. With intention, solitude's gifts emerge.